Making headlines tonight, the Child Protection Bill in sharp focus during a parliamentary committee session. Some St. George residents still reeling from yesterday's destructive weather event. Concern in the agricultural sector that one of the major players may be on the way out. And in sports, the King returns home with a Scottish Draughts title.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
A very good evening to you with this Tuesday edition of CBC NewsNight. I'm Ryan Broom, and our top story. The Child Protection Bill was put under the microscope today with presentations from three sections of the society: the church, a political party, and the legal fraternity. We're joined now by Wendy Burke, who tells us the session centered around definitions, adherence to international conventions, parental rights and responsibilities, as well as a wide-reaching scope of the bill. Good evening, Wendy.
Well, Ryan, the Joint Select Committee, chaired by Member of Parliament Tony Moore, heard first from the Family Faith Freedom Charity. Davida Maynard-Holligan made the presentation, and among their queries were areas related to gender fluidity and reassignment.
We ask that it be stated in the bill that nothing in this bill shall be construed to promote or encourage rights related to sexual orientation or gender identity, transition therapy, or the autonomous sexual rights of children of minor age. In closing, we recognize that our worldview is not the only one that has to be considered, but we are resolute in our conviction that our Constitution and our laws must reflect and protect the supremacy of God, and that Barbados must remain a God-fearing nation.
Select Committee member Trevor Prescott wondered whether or not there was still time for Barbados to hold on aspects of the convention.
Is placing a lot of emphasis on sexual orientation, and they're saying that there's a provision within the treaty that allows that is considered as still a legal instrument on sovereignties equally as powerful as statutory law within the independent sovereignties. Can we exclude ourselves at this point?
The Democratic Labour Party made its submission through third Vice President Felicia Dujon and Young Democrat Tyra Trotman. Ms. Trotman has issues with the way in which the word risk is used as it relates to the circumstances under which the authorities can step in to assist a child.
That word risk, that's a weird word to use in a piece of legislation, because what's risky once again to one person or what's risky in one situation may not be risky in another. So once again, I would say add a subsection which clearly defines what factors need to be taken into account when determining what is risky.
The Chief Parliamentary Counsel Acting, Sean Rain Bell, spoke to Section 40 to give understanding of risk.
Where the parent refuses or is unable to resume custody of the child, where the child is beyond the control of the parent and the child is a threat to himself or others, where the child is under the age of 12 and has committed an offense ordinarily that would constitute an offense but cannot be held criminally responsible, and the circumstances of care and protection as it relates to Section 40 rather than Section 39 of the Child Justice Act.
The Barbados Bar Association's presentation saw Margot Green ask for a redefining of the word child, since 16-year-olds get married with consent. She also pointed out that children are abducted from Barbados and it's expensive for the parents to litigate.
Section 8, which establishes the authority, I was wondering if the authority will also be regarded as the central authority for the Hague Convention. You might not think it, but Barbados has quite a few cases involving children who are abducted and taken away.
Another issue raised by the bar was the definition of psychological pain, and the Chief Parliamentary Counsel replied.
In relation to the definition of psychological pain as not being defined, in terms of the canons of statutory interpretation, you will note that One of them is that where the Act may not provide for specific definitions, then the court is allowed to rely on the ordinary dictionary meaning.
It's back to you now, Ryan.
Thanks so much, Wendy. Well, in other news now, some St. George residents remain in disbelief regarding the destructive nature of the weather they experienced yesterday. Strong winds tore through several districts in the parish, taking with them a number of roofs. A CBC team of Sharika Griffith and Christopher Wood visited several affected people and filed this report.
The community of Parish Land St. George appears to have been one of the hardest hit, with damage to the roofs of several homes. 71-year-old Peter Craigwell, whose mobility was impacted by a stroke several years ago, had to be lifted from the rental property he called home. His sister Jeanette, who was visiting at the time, recounted the frightful moment the house lost its roof.
I don't know where it came from, but it was, all I could do is, my sister was like, she ran out because she had bad foot, and she told me to hold my brother, so I had the strength to lift him up, take him under the table, and then from the table I had to take him down in the bathroom I don't know where I get the strength from, I just had it.
Craigwell has since been relocated and is now staying with family in Glebe Land. When a CBC team visited today, friends and family members were busy salvaging what they could from his home.
But we get saved despite all the this blow and the next and the third blow. Oh, Jesus, your word is true.
The owner of the house, Sharon Barrett, said she will now have to come up with a plan for repairs.
It's devastating. I didn't expect really to see this much damage. I knew that the roof blew off. However, I didn't expect to see it, looking like this. It's extensive.
In nearby Harry Cox Road, Annette Ford, who lost a part of her roof, is unsure how she will repair it.
I was just in the bedroom and all of a sudden I see curtain. That's why on one side. And then I look out, I see all this galvanized and cardboard and thing in the air coming. And then I just hear one whoosh and the roof they gone. So I don't know. I don't work. My husband retired.
Over by the Gun Hill Signal Station, overturned tents were evidence of the intensity of the wind. The attraction remained closed to facilitate the cleanup. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Thanks, Shiro. Well, meanwhile, the Department of Emergency Management has had 21 damage reports as a result of yesterday's adverse weather. Director Kerry Hines provided the update in a telephone interview with CBC News, as she indicated officials expect that number could rise. She provided a breakdown of the damage by parish.
In St. George, we had 10 reports of damage. In St. Michael, 4, Christchurch, 5, St. John and St. Joseph, 1 each. Persons would have sustained minor to major damage to their roof. We had a number of fallen trees, and we also had one instance of a downed utility pole. We do have our damage assessors currently out in the field, and we are expecting to have perhaps additional reports as the day goes on.
Ms. Hines says there were no reports of injuries, and those affected were referred to the relevant agencies for assistance, including temporary accommodation in the case of one Christchurch family. She believes what occurred yesterday underscores the need to stay ready during the hurricane season.
Traditionally, from June to November each year, we are within the Atlantic hurricane season, so anything can happen at any point in time. It may not be a storm or a hurricane, but we can have severe activity, weather activity, like how we had yesterday. So it's very important that you check around your homes. You try as much as possible to ensure that your homes are in a state of readiness and your family in a state of readiness as well.
The sinkhole, which appeared in Bush Hall Yard Camp yesterday, did not come as a surprise to at least one resident. Cheryl Sandiford, who has been living there for more than 50 years, recalls exploring an expansive network of caves in the area as a child. Today, she kept a watchful eye as workers from the Ministry of Transport, Works and Water Resources carefully trimmed the massive tree, which has begun to sink. She told CBC News about the moment residents realized the ground was about to give way.
Guys is be here from early, because this is the part that everybody keeps school. And they had to feel this jerk, and then they see the tree like move wobbly, so they run. My son said to me, the tree now caving. I said, tell one of the guys a cave every says.
Revealing a house was once located on the site of the sinkhole, she shared details about how they would access the caves from the house's basement.
We used to go down the basement, there was a door, and we used to go down some steps. It was so tall that when I look up, so sometimes they tell yourself, they're going to drop it, but you get very far. But we keep going as children, you know. And we realized then it was, you could walk and go all here with the road. And even up to the stadium, by the seal off the stadium mouth. And the stadium mouth was where the steps is where it could go down, like under basement. Go all up in some farm up in Bell, all up on the highway. That time there was no highway there. It was just Waterford Road, but then you cross over and over where the houses is with the church, all over there. Kept going far.
Quite a story indeed. Well, the Barbados Agricultural Society has expressed concern that at least one of the major players in the agriculture sector may not survive much longer. Chief Executive Officer James Paul has sounded the alarm. He stressed that financial support for the community should not be delayed any longer, noting that other countries are assisting their farmers. Mr. Paul says given the financial constraints facing farmers, some may be on the verge of going out of business.
Our fear is that at least one major one may actually go to business. And that is something that we are watching very carefully. Because if we are to at least maintain this sector, you know, when the big banks in the United States started to fail, there was this phrase, too big to fail. We need to understand that many of the enterprises in the agricultural sector contribute to the capacity, total capacity. If that capacity falls below a certain level, it is going to produce problems for the sector.
Well, coming up, COVID-19 claims more lives in Barbados. COVID-19 has claimed 8 more lives in Barbados. The deaths were recorded during the period September 16th to 29th. The death toll currently stands at 641. The Barbados COVID-19 situation report also states that 36 new cases, 18 males and 18 females, were recorded from the 379 tests conducted. Barbados has so far recorded 110,235 cases of COVID-19. 4 people were hospitalized as at September 29th. The total number of people fully vaccinated stands at 155,045, while the total number with at least 1 dose is 163,853. Well, a strong gas order put a pause on business at the Supreme Court complex around midday today. 2 fire tenders and fire service personnel, as well as police, responded. Station Officer Roger Bourne of the Barbados Fire Service Bridgetown Division spoke to CBC News.
At approximately 15 minutes after 12 today, we received a call to a smell of gas odor coming from the first floor of the registrar department. On arrival, we recognized that all persons were not evacuated from the building. We activated the fire alarm system to make sure that the building was fully evacuated with the sound of the alarm. We carry out a complete check of the atmosphere within the registrar and recognized there were no gases detectable or there were no strong odor of lethal gases. Further investigation revealed that the odor was actually coming from the hydraulic arm which assist with closing the doors. 26 after 1, we give the all clear after totally resetting the fire alarm and making sure that the atmosphere was clear within the registrar.
Barbados has welcomed the decision by the United Nations Security Council to approve sending a multinational force to Haiti. Now, with 13 votes in favor, the Security Council rubber-stamped the one-year non-UN force led by Kenya, which involves 1,000 security personnel. Both Russia and China abstained, allowing the measure to pass. Barbados and several CARICOM member states, along with other nations, will be providing personnel. The mission was authorized under the use of force provision of the UN Charter. Ambassador to CARICOM, David Comishong, says the resolution is important.
The government in place in Haiti has a real legitimacy problem. And we, it goes back to President Moïse and he being assassinated before he could appoint the guy who is now acting prime minister. And so there's a real legitimacy problem. So countries were saying, look, this government is asking us to come in and help bolster the national police. But before we can do that, we really need a resolution, an authorization from the United Nations Security Council.
Sports Night, brought to you with the compliments of Great Health Works, agents for Omega XL.
Time now for our first look at sports. We head over to the sports studio and say good evening to Amory Burke. Amory, what do you have for us in the first half?
Well, good evening, Ryan. Well, the competition was easy, like 1, 2, 3. That's the word from the Scottish Draughts Open champion, Barbadian Ronald Suki King, after he secured the title last Friday. Playing in Stonehaven, Scotland, King ended on 34 points, the same as fellow Barbadian Jack Francis, but King took the title via honour points. Speaking to CBC Sports on arrival from the UK, King says he was always confident of doing well.
Last time I played in that competition, I had it to win, but they took away 4 points from me when I was winning the tournament, and Shane McCusker was tied with me, something similar to what happened to me and Jack, and he beat me on the point because I got no points for the tie that I had. But I was here and I saw, and they let it state and clear that they didn't give me the point because it was an hour late, but I was there at the beginning of the tournament. It's just that I was on even number, so they stopped me from winning the tournament last time. But England, Ireland belongs to me. I believe I'm more Irish and English than anything. They let me win all the time.
Suki, however, admitted that losing to Francis in one of the matches was due to pressure from the playcock.
I've lost so many matches in time that here it is I saw my time was getting away on me because I ended up staying too long and I didn't look at the game properly. But that was the strong side I had that I should have won because I was quite certain that I would beat Jack.
The Barbados senior women's netball team has a perfect 2-0 record at the ECCB International Netball Series in Antigua. Last evening, they defeated Cayman Islands 63-24, led by goal shooters Faye Agard and Jada Smith, who netted 33 of 44 attempts and 21 from 32 attempts, respectively. In the goal attack position, Latonia Blackman finished with 6 from 8 and Brianna Holder 3 from 4 attempts. Here's a look at the game. Looking to maintain their winning momentum, the Bajan Gems had Cayman Islands as their second assignment. And if the team worked like what was just shown from center to circle, no doubt they would conquer. Where the Gems showed their strength was in the passing. And in the circle to ensure the plays were complete was goal shooter Faye Agard, easily converting this one. Though not scoring as frequently as the Bajans, when the Cayman ladies got it right, it was done efficiently. Goal attack Rosemary Wilson next. But the Gems had full control and by the end of the first quarter were up 18-7. And they picked up just where they left off in the second with a change of guard in the circle. Latonia Blackman now at goal attack and Jada Smith taking over from Agard in the circle. And she was just as effective. Cayman was still trying to get the goals in when they could. This time it's shooter Kay Copeland to complete the play. The Gems were running a quick fire game, wasting no time getting the ball into the circle. And again, it's Smith with finishing duties as they'll go into the half 38-16. The script read pretty much the same in the third as the Gems were leaps and bounds ahead. Brianna Holders back in the circle with the attack bib as she was on point. Came and got the goals whenever they could, making the advantage calls count. But the Gems were well on their way to a second win, ending the third up 51-18 before closing it out at 63-24. Now, no play was possible today with Tropical Storm Philippe dumping heavy rain on Antigua, curtailing any action on the court. The Gems, who are second in the standings on 10 points, were scheduled to play Montserrat. Now, President of the Barbados Netball Association, Dr. Carmita Duglin, says there were no mass resignations on the executive board. Duglin was responding to reports that top brass officials in key positions have stepped down ahead of an annual general meeting of the BNA set for next month. CBC Sports has been reliably informed of the changes and temporary appointments, and while noting that some board members were no longer serving in their capacities, she said there was no exodus.
Persons might have resigned over time for one reason or the other, whether it's a health reason, whether it is too much stress to continue, whatever reason they would have chosen. When they wrote in to the organization, they offered the best for the organization going forward. All right, so I don't want to blow that out of proportion.
Dr. Duglin says the majority of those members who resigned are still willing to be involved in local netball.
I don't want to speak for any person that has resigned from the board, but what I would like to say is that every person that has resigned has offered to continue to work with the Barbados Netball Association in one capacity or the other. If you have family issues and you can no longer step up because it is really too much going on, and you decide you're going to leave, well, that's a matter for each individual. But I would like to say there were no mass resignations. So I don't want the press to put that out there.
The Business Report, brought to you by the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, a department of the Ministry of Youth and Community Empowerment, supporting young entrepreneurs from idea to enterprise.
In tonight's Yes Business Report, we're being told about how scores of young people have been making good use of their second chance to gain academic qualifications. A graduation ceremony was recently held for those who successfully completed their studies while enrolled with the Barbados Youth Advanced Corps. Our Sharika Griffith has more.
Participants of Cohort 4 of the Barbados Youth Advanced Corps have gained qualifications in the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, and City and Guilds. Jerome Ruck admits it was not an easy task.
The world out there is not an easy place, especially for us as young people. We are often faced with negativity and condemnation from some people in our society. Additionally, there are bad influences woven in sheep clothing and so many other distractions, temptations that sometimes offer what seems to be the sweet life, the easy way out. But the old adage goes, everything that glitters is not gold. However, we are here today because we ignored the naysayers, the negative influences, and we persevered, we succeeded, we defied the odds that were stacked against us. And we are here this blessed evening because we came out as conquering lions on top and ready to face the world.
Ruck thanked the tutors, counselors, wardens and other staff, some of whom he said went above and beyond the call of duty. Jeremiah Mears says he's experienced personal growth. Based on the training he's received, Mears has set his sights on a potential career.
You can see I was a sign baby. The sea did not see me at all. They taught us how to swim in deep waters and how to rescue people from the water. It was challenging, but I achieved it. I haven't told him this, But I was proud. It was my proudest moment in my life when my eldest brother realized that I could swim and how confident I was in the water. The lifeguarding experiences and skills I have learned along with the first aid training has really opened up my career options. I believe I would make an excellent lifeguard.
And Minister of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, Charles Griffith, encouraged the graduates to use the opportunity as a stepping stone.
There's a reason why the rearview mirror is smaller than the windscreen, because you don't need to check so much on what is happening in the past. The windshield is big enough for you to see and imagine your future, as the youngster mentioned here just now. And government, through my ministry, is making all of the necessary steps to ensure that we keep the windshield shine and clear, crystal clear, for you to see what is available if you decide to step up, if you decide to take the second chance that is offered in our programs.
To date, students have gained 590 passes in the CSEC program in subjects such as English language, office administration, and physical education, while there have been 137 passes in City and Guilds English and Maths. The Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment will be hosting a Youth Expo and Talent Show this Saturday, October 7th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Sky Mall. Sharika Griffith for the Yes Business Report.
It's time now for the second half look at sports. So we head back over to the sports studio and welcome back Amory Burke.
Hi Ryan, now I have some news from track and field and some other sports, as some big names are missing from Barbados' team for the track and field component of the 2023 Pan American Games in Santiago, Chile. Last night we reported that a 28-member contingent was selected by the Barbados Olympic Association for the games slated to run from October 20th to November 5th. CBC's Admar Goodrich Boyce takes a look at the squad.
Having won gold at the last edition of the Pan American Games in 2019, thanks to hurdler Shane Brathwaite, Barbados' medal hopes in athletics this time around have dwindled, with the absence of the island's biggest track stars. Barbados will be without World Championship bronze medalist Shadi Williams, Commonwealth Games silver medalist and reigning Pan Am champion Shane Brathwaite, and Commonwealth Games bronze medalist Jonathan Jones. In an interview with CBC Sports, Public Relations Officer at the Athletics Association of Barbados, Esther Maynard, confirmed that a number of the island's top athletes are unavailable for selection due to the time of year and the ranking system.
The Pan American Sports Organization, through its statisticians, keep an up-to-date ranking of who would be eligible. And in addition to being eligible, the athlete has to be available. Most of our athletes are at university, and at this time of the year, their training cycle dictates what they will and will not do.
Meantime, President of the Barbados Olympic Association, Sandra Osborne, says it is unfortunate that only one track and field athlete will represent the island.
It's disappointing to us, but understandable, that some of the track and field athletes are unavailable. Our information, which of course would be received through the Athletics Association of Barbados, is not injury related. It's more related to the athletic season and the timing of these games in relation to the season for athletics.
Additionally, Osborne says the BOA is optimistic about the team's chances and is urging Barbadians to show their full support.
I think that the first thing that we would want is for athletes to deliver their personal best, whatever that is, and for the public of Barbados to support whatever that result is. I think that very often athletes go into games with unrealistic expectations coming from the public. And then when they perform what we consider to be very good performances, we hear, they haven't performed that well. And I think that one has to look at the performance of the athlete going into the games, what were their qualifying times, what have they done this season, and so on, to understand what is the expectation, what is the realistic expectation for their performance.
The full team reads: swimming, Jack Kirby and Daniel Titus; badminton, Kenny King; boxing, Jabali Brady; cycling, Amber Joseph; equestrian, Roberta Foster; golf, Emily Odwin; gymnastics, Anya Pilgrim, rowing, Carl Spinnard, sailing, Scott Gittins, shooting, Michelle Elliott, Mike Maskell, Richard Greenwich, Justin St. John, Dave Seal, and Tashana Allen, squash, Megan Bess, Amanda Herwood, and Margot Prout, surfing, Chelsea Tuat, table tennis, Tyrese Knight, taekwondo, Choki Holder, tennis, Darian King, triathlon, Matthew Wright, weightlifting, Daniel Griffith, and Adrian Maynard, wrestling. There were 2 invitees in boxing, Charles Cox and Kimberly Gittins, aiming to qualify for the Paris 2024 Olympics. The games will run from October 20th to November 5th. Anmar Goodrich Boyce, CBC Sports.
And that's our news package on behalf of the entire team. Thanks for being with us over the past hour, and do have a good night.